I know you're ready. I'm ready. We are all ready to get back into watching meaningful football games every single weekend. We are now less than 2 weeks away from week 1 of the NFL season, and Allaqcess Sports is here to help you, hopefully, make some better fantasy decisions. My name is Bradley with Allaqcess Sports, and we're continuing our history to help you win more. You may have seen our Sleeper Studs and Stacks videos in the past. If so, welcome back. And if you're here for the first time, like, comment, and subscribe at any point when you enjoy the content. As always, stick around to find out how you can win a $10 Draftkings ticket when we get to our defenses and stacks slide. Now listen, we've been doing YouTube for about 7 years now, so thank you for coming back and choosing us to help set your weekly lineup. Our goal is to help take down the big dogs. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I cannot afford to play 150 lineups at $20 a piece. I just can't, man. I got stuff to do. You have stuff to do. We got bills to pay, mouths to feed, bars to go to. I got to get guacamole with my Chipotle, okay? I can't afford to be throwing money away and not winning tournaments. I just want to make a little money and have some fun. So I'll be playing mostly 50-50s and double-ups this season, as I usually do, and being very selective in my larger contests. So I will be playing in the Millionaire Maker as well as single-entry GPPs. I got to take a shot and try to win the $1 million, right? But go ahead, drop a like on this video. It's proven that it's going to help improve your roster for this week. Now, normally you would see this slide filled with great views and great news from the week before. How we told you to take Dan Arnold, who put up 22 points at only $2,500, or how we were unfortunately telling you to take Dalvin Cook, who only put up 10 points at $9,000. We're always going to be transparent. We've said it every single time. We're not going to give you 20, 30 names and just cherry pick the top and say, look at what we did. And it's like, well, dude, everyone thought that. Like, you're not... You have to do both. You have to be transparent. So we'll give you the good and the bad as well as our lineup each and every week. Now we have to kick off our sleepers, studs, and stacks with the sleepers. These are the low price guys that you can put into your lineups to help secure top tier players that you want. Our goal with the sleepers, I mean really for any players, is to get 4 times points per $1,000 spent. What we mean by that is if it's a $4,000 player, you want to get 16 points. DraftKings gives you $50,000 to play with. 4 times that is 200 points. 200 points is cashing nearly every week. Maybe not week 1 because there are huge numbers that are going to be put up week 1. But 200 points should cash fairly easily every other week. So, what's the first name we're looking at? Michael Pittman Jr. $4,100 against Seattle. Indianapolis should be playing from behind for most of this game. I think they're going to be forced into the pass. He's number 1 on the depth chart and number 1 in expected targets in this game. I think Michael Pittman Jr. at $4,100 is an absolute steal. Now, this isn't all the sleepers that we have. I know you might have some. These are just some that we caught a few days ago, and now we're putting into our kind of rotation of lineups that we want to narrow down to one lineup. Chase Edmonds at $4,600. Again, saw this a few weeks ago. He should be the number 1 running back in carries and touches in this game. Keep an eye on James Conner. If he's healthy, he's obviously going to vulture some of those goal line instances. Same price as a lot of running back 2 and running back 3. If you look at his pricing point and the other running backs that are around there with him, he's technically a RB1, but priced as an RB2 or 3. Laviska Shenault Jr., $5,000 against the horrible Houston Texans defense. He's wide receiver 3 on the depth chart, but he's the number 1 playmaker. They want to get him the ball. They've already said they would need to get him the ball. He is behind DJ Chark and Marvin Jones in the depth chart, but he is going to probably be the number 1 targeted receiver. I absolutely hope so, especially if Trevor Lawrence starts. He's going to want to facilitate the ball, and he does a great job of getting through his reads. Jerick McKinnon, running back, Kansas City for $4,100. Keep an eye on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Is health. Jerick McKinnon has been fantastic in camp. He's a great pass-catching back. He's been that way ever since Georgia Southern and then going over to the 49ers. He's been an excellent pass-catching back, a great change of pace back. He kind of duplicated what they were getting from Raheem Mostert already there, so they've parted ways. He's now in Kansas City and really is a great back and a great addition to this backfield. Again, it's all paramount on CEH's health. Mike Davis, 5,400 might be my favorite running back price point from all of the value plays that you'll see this week. It does depend on how you feel about game script, because if your team is going to be behind, in this case, I think the Atlanta Falcons are playing from behind, they will resort to the pass. Atlanta Falcons always resort to the pass. They say they want to get back to being more of a hard-nosed offense and really pounding the ball behind that pretty good offensive line that they have. I don't know if that's going to happen. He could be a stud of a running back in this offense, but he's going to have to capitalize in the red zone. I don't want to see all these targets going just to Kyle Pitts. Julio Jones is gone. Defenses will be focusing on Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, and Kyle Pitts. Mike Davis, you have to capitalize in the red zone. I think he does. At 5,400 points, I'm happy with, 50 yards and a touchdown and a couple of passes out of the end zone. He's still getting me about 15 points if that's the scenario. And Dallas Goedert, or Goddard, however you want to say it, I don't care. All I know is you need to say his name in your lineup. At $4,800 against Atlanta, who has been destroyed by pass-catching running backs, pass-catching tight ends, pass-catching anyone over the middle. Their linebackers are horrible in coverage. Well, Jalen Hurts from Philadelphia, his favorite targets have been the tight ends all training camp and in the preseason games. I look for that to continue. In Goddard, and Zach Ertz. Again, Atlanta has below average linebackers in terms of coverage, and that's why they have been absolutely brutalized by pass-catching backs and tight ends over the year. More to watch. Cam Newton, I got to give you a couple more quarterbacks against Miami. I don't think he's going to have a fantastic game, but 20 points is not out of the reach for Cam Newton, matched up with now Jacoby Myers, who looks really good, and two great pass-catching tight ends there. I think Hunter Henry might be in for a sneaky game as well. Sam Darnold, $5,000 against the New York Jets, not because he's going to get a lot of yards, but all he has to do is dump the ball off to CMC or DJ Moore and let them do the rest. Justin Jackson at $4,000 against Washington Redskins, who's not a slouch of a defense, but Austin Eckler might be dealing with some injury things. He has been dealing with some injury things, so he hasn't been playing a whole lot in training camp, obviously, or in the preseason. None of their starters really are, which is a slight worry for the Chargers, but Justin Jackson is technically listed as the number 2 back there ahead of Joshua Kelly and others. More wide receivers to watch. Russell Gage, $5,400 against Philadelphia. We've already been over this. Atlanta Falcons are going to be a passing team. They always will be. Russell Gage should capitalize on lesser coverage. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase against Minnesota, depending on how Joe Burrow feels. I thought Joe Burrow was going to be the next coming. He's very good, but he looks a little hesitant at this moment, a little timid, coming back from that horrible injury that he suffered last year. And lastly, Corey Davis, $4,900 against the Carolina Panthers. My Carolina Panthers, I'm a huge Panthers fan, but Corey Davis is absolutely the favorite target for Zach Wilson. I think he's going to see an abundance of targets in this game. Carolina, in my eyes and in the eyes of Vegas, are going to win this game. They're going to have to throw the ball up. Corey Davis should be the guy that's on the end of most of those targets. Tight ends, I think you can find some real bargains this week. Obviously, Travis Kelce, George Kittle are going to be the top 2 guys most weeks, along with Darren Waller. But this week, week 1, I think you can find a lot of bargains. Robert Tonyan, $4,200 against New Orleans, a very bad New Orleans defense in my eyes. Kyle Pitts, $4,500 against Philadelphia. We've been over that a dozen times. And Dan Arnold at $2,600 against the New York Jets, who was dead last in Draftkings points given up to tight ends last year. Carolina, as a Panthers fan, is dealing with a couple of tight ends that they want to use, but Dan Arnold is that red zone threat ahead of Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble. But at 2,600 points, if he gets me 2 catches for 20 yards, that's 44 points, and then gets a touchdown on top of that, that puts him at 12 to 15 point range, depending on how far the touchdown is. You're looking at a 15-point day from a guy that's 2,600. That's 5.5 times his points per $1,000. I absolutely love that for my tight end position. Rolling into the studs, these are my favorite players of the week that are top dollar. They're going to be expensive, but they're absolutely worth their price tag, and that's why we have to make sure we're very good with our sleepers and value plays that we saw before. There's a lot of studs this week. You can just pick off the top 3 names from each position, and they're probably going to do well. But they carry heavy price tags, so you have to be selective. Kicking things off, we are going to have, if I can get it to pull up here, Keenan Allen at $6,900 against Washington. He's had double-digit targets in all but 4 games back in 2020. Slight worry about not playing the preseason. I already went over that. But the camp highlights of him and Justin Herbert together are absolutely fantastic. Christian McCaffrey, 9,500. No real surprise here. He's obviously going to be the top target of a lot of people. Playing 50-50s and double ups, I love getting 3 running backs into my lineup because I think they have a higher floor than a wide receiver that might actually end up getting shut out, even though he's projected to have a good game. Running backs are going to touch the ball a lot. Christian McCaffrey is going to touch the ball a lot, specifically in this one. Sam Darnold, a lot of emotions running for him, going up against his former team in the New York Jets. I think they're going to try and relax him a little bit, give him those easy dump-off passes to the tight end and to Christian McCaffrey, short little screens for DJ Moore. Comfort him into this, but I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be on the receiving end to take the load off Sam Darnold and ease him into a new team, new offense against a former team. James Robinson, stop sleeping on him. $6,400, stop insulting him. Against the Houston Texans, a horrible defense, stop. Put some respect on this guy's name. Don't forget how good he was in 2020, okay? Again, he's facing a Houston Texans team that was already bad and gets even worse. If Trevor Lawrence is the starter, again, why would the defense not focus on Trevor Lawrence's arm? And the Jaguars just take advantage of James Robinson being an absolute stud last year. Relax. Get T-Law softened into the game. Okay, James Robinson is going to see plenty of opportunities, plenty of touches in this one. At $6,400, Travis Etienne is not the starter. He's actually number 3 on the depth chart right now, and if you watch the preseason, he looks like the number 3 guy. He'll be there eventually, but early on in the season, James Robinson, in a game that you should be ahead, give the ball to your running back, protect the lead, let him run out the clock. Justin Herbert, 6,700 against Washington. Again, he's going to be good for 40 attempts no matter what. And when there's attempts, there's opportunities for your wide receivers and running backs. When there's touches, there's opportunities to score. In this case, your quarterback is going to have the opportunity to get points. Nick Chubb at 7,200 might come as a little bit of a surprise because they are playing against Kansas City. I know we went over game script earlier. If Kansas City hops out to a big lead, you would think that Kareem Hunt's going to come in for the Cleveland Browns, but the Browns last year, they were down 14 in some games, 18 points in some games I saw, and Nick Chubb was still in there in the first, second quarter just plugging away, hand it off. Stefanski, he's absolutely certain that Nick Chubb is going to be the tone setter for this team. He's still going to get his touches, maybe not receptions because Kareem Hunt is that dude, but at 7,200 points, I know he's still going to get plenty of handoffs against a team in Kansas City that's surprisingly not great against the run. I think they're about 23rd to 25th in terms of rushing yards given up, or Draftkings points given up to running backs last year. And lastly, another wide receiver for you for my favorite portion of the studs is Calvin Ridley at 7,900 against Philadelphia. I think this is going to be a big scoring game. I told you, I think Philadelphia is going to get ahead early, and Atlanta is going to resort to the pass. He is Matt Ryan's favorite target. He's an excellent route runner. Philadelphia has been burned by good route runners over the past few years. He's going to find his comfort guy. He's going to focus on Calvin Ridley, who's going to put up massive numbers. Now, a lot of people might say, Bradley, Julio Jones is gone. Calvin Ridley's going to have all the attention on the defense. Julio Jones has been gone a lot because that guy was injured quite often. Okay? Calvin Ridley's going to be just fine as the number 1 guy. Now, more to watch. You know, I'm not saying these are my favorite, but just a couple of guys to keep an eye on. Russell Wilson going up against Indianapolis, I think could be scary good. Seattle's, they're just going to be good. Russell Wilson is just going to put up points. We get that. I don't know if I'm putting him in mind. He is a little bit more expensive than Justin Herbert, who I do like more in this one. But Russell Wilson, I'm not afraid to go after and get. Matt Ryan at 6,000, a great opportunity again. I think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot in this one. And at $6,000, you're looking for him to get 24 points. That seems fairly feasible and fairly easy with Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, and Kyle Pitts on the other side of these passes. Aaron Jones, 6,800, going up against a really bad New Orleans team. They've changed a lot, okay? They got rid of Janoris Jenkins. They got rid of Jared Cook. Drew Brees is no longer there. Michael Thomas isn't even there for the offense. I think Green Bay gets ahead early, and then they just run the clock out. It might not be Aaron Jones, which does worry me. It could be Dylan back there or anyone else that they picked up in the offseason. But Aaron Jones should be in a good spot to shine as Green Bay gets ahead early over the Saints. Derrick Henry, 8,800 against Arizona. Not much needs to be said there. Wide receivers, DJ Moore, 6,100 against the New York Jets. I already said, I think there's going to be a lot of screens and a lot of targets that come his way in this one. Not sure if the yardage will be there, but targets and catches will be there, and you can rack up those points fairly quickly in this one. Brandon Ayuk against a defense that we picked on all year last year for their DBs. The Detroit Lions, who's arguably the worst team in the league, right? Brandon Ayuk at $5,700. I don't care who's back there, Garoppolo or Trey Lance, who has a much bigger arm. Brandon Ayuk should get open and should see plenty of touches in this one. Justin Jefferson, I wanted so badly to put him up there at the top, but I just want to say at $7,700 against Cincinnati, I want to put him in my lineup. I want to so bad. But if you look at the differences in points that he had at home and in away games last year, it is drastic. I'm going to be a little hesitant at the beginning of the season. Find someone that I trust a little bit more, like the Calvin Ridley, like the Devontae Adams, and Keenan Allen, as opposed to Justin Jefferson, who's the most expensive out of as opposed to Justin Jefferson. At $7,700, I don't want him on the road just yet. Devontae Adams against New Orleans again. I think he's in a great spot because of their defensive back position. Or Devontae Adams going up against New Orleans, I think he's in a good spot. But because he hasn't played the preseason and they've been babying in, with good reason, babying in all of their star players, I think Devontae Adams, if they get ahead too early, or too big too early, could be pulled back, which makes me a little bit hesitant to take Devontae Adams. I could be wrong and I could get burned, but again, I want to be safe rather than sorry. Tight ends, we went over Travis Kelce, George Kittle, the two best tight ends of the week, along with Darren Waller. Don't forget. If you want to go after them, I don't think you need to this week. I think there's plenty of cheaper alternatives. Mike Gesicki's down there, and then I already went over Dan Arnold. Now we roll over to the stacks. Most large tournaments do become won. What I'm trying to say is most tournaments are won by teams that do have some sort of stack, whether it's a 2-player, 3-player, or 4-player. We've seen it work. It works by correlation, okay? If a quarterback has a big game, a wide receiver is probably going to have a big game. If a wide receiver has a big game, the quarterback had to have had a big game. Devontae Adams is not going to get 3 touchdowns without Aaron Rodgers throwing for 3 touchdowns. It's going to be extremely unlikely. They work hand in hand. They go together like peanut butter and jelly, like milk and cookies. Ice cream and waffle cones, which is the only way to eat ice cream, unless you're in public. Then I'll eat it out of a bowl. But before we get into this, I actually got to remember our contest, okay? Here's the contest. We do it every single video. We've given away a lot of prizes. For this one, it's simple. Go ahead and like this video first while I explain it. Like the video. Then comment who you think is going to be the top scorer of the week. Then give me how many points they're going to have. If you get the score and the number of points that they have correct down in the comments, you'll win a $10 Draftkings ticket, essentially. Again, so you think it's Devontae Adams going to be the top scorer this week, and you think he's going to get 37 points? Put it down there. If Devontae Adams is the top scorer, and he does get 37.5 points, whatever that decimal is, wipe it off, that 37, one person who correctly guessed that will get this $10 Draftkings ticket. Limit 1 entry per person. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. One winner from all correct entries will win. Now, good luck, and let's move on to these stacks. So, LA Chargers I went over. I'm a little hesitant about the running back situation. Again, this was made a couple days ago. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen. I love this duo this week. Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan, Mike Davis, Calvin Ridley. I think a lot of attention is going to be given to Kyle Pitts in the red zone. Thus, insert Mike Davis. Okay, give me 1 touchdown, 50 yards. And a couple receptions. I'm happy enough with that. That's 15 to 20 points, depending on how many touches he actually gets. Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, that tight end Dallas Goedert, and Devonta Smith. He looked really good in camp, has not looked good in preseason, so that's just something to keep an eye on. And I did want to put the Minnesota Vikings in here, but that on-the-road theory is working against them. I'm telling you, look at the splits, and it's not good, okay? The defense. There's a couple reasons to have each one of these defenses up here. You know, you can call me a homer all you want because I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. You see it back behind me. I got my Justin Herbert signed helmet. I got my J.C. Horn signed helmet. I got a Brian Burns football back here. Okay? That might explain these two defenses. But hear me out. Carolina Panthers at 3,600 against the New York Jets. I think they get ahead early, and that defense has been scary good in the preseason. Not the seconds and the threes, but the ones. Lamar Jackson in 2 games in joint practices, 5 interceptions. 3 turnovers in the Ravens preseason game. Against the Colts, they were forcing turnovers. This team is going to get turnovers. They're going to get sacks, and that's what gets you points. At $3,600, the Jets are improving, but not that quickly. I think they do get a number of turnovers and get you a double-digit points. Same thing for the LA Chargers. Depending on who plays quarterback for Washington Redskins, the Washington football team, if it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's not afraid to take a gamble, right? It's not surprising to hear Ryan Fitzpatrick throw 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. LA Chargers can get after the quarterback. Joey Bosa is going to get himself his sacks. Again, that creates opportunities to score points. And lastly, the 49ers against arguably the worst team in the league, the Detroit Lions at $4,200. If you have the money to spend, I don't see why you wouldn't go with that one, but these are my 3 favorites. LA Chargers at $3,100 is probably who I'm going to be implementing just because of that price point is so good. If you made it all the way through this video, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Just a few reminders. Points for week 1 are always massive. Don't be intimidated if someone puts up 280 points. I think 280 points is actually what won the Millionaire Maker last year, week 1. Aim for 4 times points per $1,000 spent. $5,000 player, you want to get 15 to 20 points. I know that's 3 to 4 times, but if you're doing that, that's putting you in good shape to get 175 to 200 points on most weeks, okay? And then me personally, I'm looking to play single entry, double ups, and 50-50s. The 150 players absolutely have the odds because they're willing to take chances on players that I'm not willing to play. I have a high floor for a lot of the players that I put into my lineups. If they want to play Jake Funk, the 3rd string running back from the LA Rams, go ahead. By all means, play him. If you play him, you deserve to win if he goes off. I get that. I don't have that kind of time to put that many lineups in, man. I got a 9 to 5, okay? So I'm playing these single entry lineups. That way I can take, I feel like I'm smarter, and you probably feel like you're smarter than half of football fans, right? So if you're playing these 50-50 double ups, good luck. Congratulations. It's easy money to just step and repeat week after week. And that's going to do it for our Sleepers, Studs, and Stacks week 1 of 2021 here for Allaqcess. If things shake up and there's any drastic changes, we might drop a part 2. I would love to hear your comments. Drop them below. Let me know what you think about our picks. Let me know who your picks are. If there's someone I forgot, if there's someone I left off. Preseason is still very young. There's a lot of changes that are going to be happening, a lot of cuts that are going to be happening, and injuries that could bubble up. Reminder, the odds are really in the hands of 150 lineups, so, just take that into consideration. So don't forget to comment your top score of the week for a chance to win that $10 Draftkings ticket. Good luck, and we will see you again for week 2 of the NFL week for our Sleepers, Studs, and Stacks.